So here we go, guys. So this is session number 44. So again, my name is Brian Weaver. I am the VP of Sales at NSA, and this is my contact information. So if anybody is interested in pursuing this particular solution, please contact me. We'll also have a contact later in the presentation as well, but you can feel free to reach out to me directly. So for those of you that may not be familiar with NSA, just a little bit about us. So we've been in this market in the distribution world since 1984 on the earlier iterations of Infor ERP for distribution. So we've got a team that's very seasoned and committed with the success of our clients in this particular space. We have a great relationship with Infor over those years, and along with Renaissance Tech as well, who's on the call today as well as the implementer of this particular solution for us. We were the first partner to receive an alliance designation, which allows us to support basically Infor direct accounts as well in our team with Infor. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Deb Lopez. Deb Lopez is a channel account manager for CPQ. She's with Infor. And Deb, I'll ask you to take it away, please.
Awesome, thanks, Brian. So hello, everybody. I am excited here to be with you today and share this introduction of Infor Enterprise CPQ solution for distribution. We have a quick little agenda. So I am going to go through just a couple slides. The purpose of that is really to give you an intro to the solution. I'm going to show you some slides that you may or may not use if you do decide to move forward with our solution, but I think it's good for you to kind of see some of the capabilities that Infor CPQ has. And I really look forward to a deeper discussion with each of you following the webinar. So I'm going to start here. This is I call this my CPQ journey slide. And really, when we talk about Infor CPQ, we talk about making every experience count. So if you start in the upper left corner circle where you see the gentleman there leaning in, the owners of businesses, leaderships in the businesses, they're always meeting, discussing how do I increase sales? How do I find new sales channels? How may I automate my business processes to get the biggest profit? These are discussions going on, and they're willing to invest in software that can deliver on those initiatives. And as you start to follow that dotted line down, you see the challenge. And there is a challenge. You know, today, users crave an engaging experience. It's just really even more now that COVID has hit us and more people are doing things online. Following that, there is an urgency, because if any of you have shopped yourself, you've probably done a search, you find a list of things and you go to the first one, and if it isn't engaging, you're just going to move on to the next one. So you kind of have that one chance. And as you continue down and we talk about reinventing the buying experience, it's for everybody. It's for all your users, internal and external, new customers, existing customers. It's everybody. And anytime, anywhere, it's just expected these days. So being able to, you know, work with your mobile phone or your tablet that you have if you're on an airplane or if you're sitting on Sunday morning watching football, anytime, anywhere access is a very important part of all the experience. Once you do capture the interest and you do get somebody who's ready to buy from you, you want that simple, seamless integration to your critical back-end systems. You want all the information that needs to be processed to deliver and fulfill on to be correct. So this journey shows that going through the enterprise, it's very important that we touch every user that is part of, you know, your processes. So one enterprise solution is the way we look at Infor CPQ. This is another way to look at it, more in a flow chart way, but if you look at the middle of the screen where the blue box showing the channels is, that's a process we call quote to order. Everybody's probably heard of that process, very typical process. And the one to the right where we see order fulfillment, those are traditional areas where CPQ has been satisfying, you know, for many, many years. But if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, it starts before you're doing the quote to order. You have to get that lead into your business. So we call that market to quote. And if you look at the systems that are going to be leveraged in that front end of your business, it is your website and it is your e-commerce solution. So when you add those to more of the traditional areas in the business applications you're using, like CRM and CAD and ERP, Infor CPQ really does transcend the entire enterprise. So now you're looking actually at a snapshot from our solution on this slide. What we want to talk about here is Infor CPQ can help you make it simple to buy your products. We can help make it engaging to buy your products. It's easy to use and buy what someone's looking for. If you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you see some of those little thumbprint images. If I was a consumer or somebody looking to find, where I want to purchase hot tubs from, I can pick very easily what I want that to be. And with the explosion view, which is what you're looking at, I actually see all of the pieces of that product. So I can see where the jets are, and I can really get an understanding of what I would be purchasing. So we make it engaging and simple, but also think of your channels. You want to be able to deliver the experience that a particular user in a channel would need to use. So Infor CPQ is one solution that will serve all of your channels and deliver that engaging experience. This just gives you a picture of some of the options that are available to you. So using visual engagement and interaction is kind of a hot thing to do. So many websites, if you go out and you look, you're going to see a lot of static images, and that's still an appropriate and valid image. But more and more people are moving to what we call this interactive 3D visualization. And this is where if you were going to select items or add items, you get to see that build as you are picking those items from there. Then you have augmented reality, which is kind of the top most engaging possible visual engagement. And that's where if you had a product where it made sense where people could use AR to bring that into their own environment and see what it looks like. And then the last two are more very traditional, but still very important, and that's the 2D CAD parametric type drawings, as well as 3D assembly. So now we're talking about visual engagement on any device. So anytime, anywhere, any device. We have a fully responsive application. We do have a native mobile app. So even if you have a complex business, you can use a mobile phone because it will just give you the view that you need to do it on a mobile phone. And then finally, if your business does require putting together proposals, you have the ability as you're doing the quote to determine what do you want to include in that proposal. Do you want cover letters? Do you want spec sheets? Do you want warranty information, terms and conditions, marketing collateral possibly, or contracts? You decide, but at that time you get to pick what needs to go in that proposal for it to be compelling. Wanted to give a quick snapshot. Here's some of our great distribution customers using Infor CPQ. So although we may be new to you today, this is not new. So we'd love to get more engaged with your business. And finally, it's just fun to be together working as a team, with Renaissance Tech, who is the specialty partner for Infor CPQ, along with NSA and Infor. The three of us, I think, make a great team here together for you. Now we do, before we hand it over to Travis to show you the solution in the demonstration, there are 3 offers. So the first one is a complimentary offer where we can use our CPQ ROI value calculator. You see some pictures of it kind of there in the lower left corner, where we will put your information into this, and we can then show you what would you expect to get back in a return from increasing sales, reducing costs, or differentiating your brand using this calculator. Sometimes the ROI for CPQ is is quite large. It will cover more than just a CPQ application. We are also offering a 10% discount on software if you decide to purchase this and sign before December 15th. And then the last offer on there is the first 5 customers to give Hillary, and you can see her email there in the lower corner, get a hold of Hillary. We are offering a 15-day POC. So Renaissance Tech will take one of your products and they will put it into the Infor CPQ solution and let you play around with that for 15 days. So it doesn't get much better than this, folks. Those are the offers, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Travis.
Very good. All right, well, I'm going to jump into the software here, and I'm going to do it rather quickly. I'm Travis Teal. I'm coming to you from Western Colorado, and we have a couple of fresh inches of snow on the ground this morning. It's nice and chilly here, but I'm going to hopefully warm you up here with some examples of software. So the screen that you're looking at right here, I just want to draw attention to it. This is the home page. When you log into Infor CPQ, you would land upon this home page, and every box that you see on the screen is configurable. I'm going to not touch on everything. Just know that these are in a library. I can select, edit, and pull any different box that I want from the library, modify, configure how I want. But there's a few things that are kind of important, because if you're working directly with individuals in your corporation, or even maybe some dealer distributors in some scenarios outside, we have the ability to do so through our posts. So let me just real quick show you. If I view the details here of the post, it allows me to interact with individuals about an individual quote, about any issue you want. You can talk about lots of things. But if I'm just answering this question, you know, I could say December 1, 2022 and reply back. So this is our ability to interact and collaborate within the tool. You'll see that there are task lists. Again, these widgets are based upon your role and what you want to see. So in this scenario, if I have approver capability, when I select on the task list, I can assign a task to me. I can assign it to someone else if I have permission. If I'm already assigned, I can approve or reject, go in and add notes. Again, collaboration is very key, and it's a part of our Infor ecosystem. So with that in mind, the last thing I want to show, you'll see over to the right side, the workflow viewer tied directly with the tasks. If I'm looking at an individual workflow, it's going to tell me where I'm at in the step and what I have to expect upcoming. You'll see that it's different based off of what's been approved or not. So again, as I log into the system and land on my home page, I have widgets here that are configurable. I can pull them from the library. I have permission to edit this screen and go in and add different things here as needed. But I really want to get in and show you software. So let's go ahead and flip to another screen and start talking about configuration. I'm going to show you quoting from the point in time where I create the quote through to where it's submitted into the ERP. And we're going to do this rather rapidly. So I'm going to start by identifying that every box that you see here on the screen is representative of a quote. I have a couple of different views that I can flip through, but just know that I can sort and filter based off the status, based off of when it was created or who owns the quote. And I can do searching here. For example, if I type in office, it's going to search across all of the fields. And in this case, this quote has the name of mobile office. So it's going to search for every one of those fields in the visible in the quote to be able to do that search. Those line items here, project opportunity, they are configurable. You can choose different elements that you want to show if these aren't sufficient. But let's go ahead and create a new quote. So at this point, I've created a quote. I'm going to add a customer to it. I do a simple search, and I'll be able to select my customer. Again, it could search by address. It can search by company name. It can search by any information in that customer. Once I have them assigned, I can add items. Now, these items that I'm adding can be configurable or non-configurable, meaning if I'm just selling widgets, I can go in and select them, navigate through my categories, get to a nice visual rendering. But in this scenario, I'm going to very quickly show you a value add where we're going to create a kit from wire. So I'm going to configure this wire into multiple selections. It starts with the length here. Now let me just draw attention to what you're seeing right now in our configurator is very robust, and I am going to very barely scratch the surface on capabilities here, but this could be extended through a website. This can be extended through our enterprise quoting. It can also be extended through an ERP in a change order scenario. So it's very robust and capable. And it is very specific. So I can build all of my business rules into this to make sure that the configuration that I deliver is accurate. So if I put in a 600 feet, it's going to let me know the maximum wire length here is 500. We'll go ahead and put in 500. And then it lets me choose, well, what type do I want? In this scenario, when I select NMB, it's going to give me the options, the standard options. If I go to THHN, again, different AUG wire and different changes across these specific wire types. I'm going to go ahead and just select the THHN. Let's go with a 12 AUG, and it's going to let me choose what color wires do I want. I'll very simply choose black and red and blue and green, and go to my packaging options. The packaging options show up in a separate tab. You can have as many tabs and as many configuration options as you want. If I want to send this in a plastic bag, I can. If I want the spool, I get the notification that there's a $50 charge for this that can be credited back if they return the spool. So there's lots of options, lots of things that we can do here. If I jump over to my details, we'll see that the price per wire is established, the spools added on, we have a total price, a very simple detail. If I am on the packaging tab and I want to change something in regard to the wire length, for example, I go to the summary and select it. It takes me directly to that box to navigate. Now, once we have that configuration complete, I'm going to go ahead and hit finish. I don't need to add more products, but I very well could. Jump right back into my quote. And now at this point in time, we can see that I have the wire configuration. If I want a detailed view of that, I can drill into that and get some elaboration going. And I also have the ability to do things like go back and change those options. If this is something that one of my customers orders all the time, I can save this as a named configuration. And then when I search for products, it would come up as that name that I saved it. There's also additional options here where I can go through and create a version. So if I want to create version 2 of this quote, it automatically creates it, same customer, same line item. Again, I could go in and change those options. And I have the ability to do things like add attachments, documents, and these relate to our Infor document management. Again, the Infor platform that enables us to utilize a lot of the structure that's out there. Once I have the item in its entirety the way that I would like it, I can go ahead and convert this to an order. But real quick, I'm going to show you a couple other things. Let's look at what this quote looks like when I generate it. Again, as Deb mentioned, the proposals are very modifiable. You can go through and select the parts that you want to see. This is configurable if you want to add additional selections here. I'm going to take our defaults. We'll go through and preview it. I could email it directly. We could also integrate this with DocuSign if you want to get a direct signature. And it goes through with the header information and then that detailed line item, the subtotal, and if we want to include any additional documents like terms and conditions and all of that, they can be listed here as well. Okay, now if I did want to make a slight modification, I can very easily go through, change the markup, change the discount, real quick just to show some of our approvals that tie back to that front screen where we saw the tasks. If I try to give a 30% discount, it's going to require that I get approval for that because I've exceeded my threshold. We could very well go through and request that and submit it, and it would show up on those tasks at the very beginning under the proper user community. But simply, I'm going to take this, I'm going to convert it to an order. And the last thing I'll do here is place this order. And now when I come back, you'll see that I am now in my orders versus my quotes. So every card here represents an order, and we'll see that there is a link to the external order number that shows up as soon as it's available. Now, the one thing I want to do is show you what happens when it goes into the order system. And this is important because this is showing directly within the Infor ERP, but we work with a lot of others as well as all the different Infor ERPs. So here's an example of the Infor ERP and an order that comes through. You can see that I get the information with the customer. I get information about the order. There's header detail that is passed over from the quoting application, and then there's the line detail. Now in this line detail, we have the configuration of that non-stock here for the actual lengths of the cut, but also with that spool, excuse me, we also have all of the line items. And if I go and I look at the kit specifically, there represents those colors that I've selected plus the spool charge. So again, all of this information passed over from the time when it was configured into the quote and then submitted that order is then passed over into the back-end ERP. Okay, I want to jump over to a slightly different view and show you some additional capabilities. So we're going to move over and start looking at, again, a different view. This is a quote. You can see I'm in a quote. I've already added the customer. For the sake of time, we're going to jump through this pretty quick. But note that for our distributors, we have a lot of capabilities in the system that you might want to take advantage of. So for example, here, if I go and I say, you know, I have a list of parts that I want to upload, I can go in and select that list of parts, upload it, and it's going to take them, add them to the quote, and you'll see with this different view, we're going to have some of the line items specified as non-stock. Some of them will have prices associated. So as I scroll down the screen here, you'll see that, okay, I have water materials, frame and cover, hydrant, sewer. A couple of them are non-stock, pardon me, non-stock items. So let's take and resolve that issue. I'm going to add those details in and say, you know, my cost for this is really $150 and I want to charge $155. Close that down, and the second line item, maybe I want to delete it and remove it, or I could update it as well. You know, this one's going to be 222 and I want to charge 229. And once I have that set up, again, you'll see that now I have a price. I can go through and generate my quote just the same, and I can do quotes that are dual branded if necessary, lots of different capabilities. But there's also a lot of flexibility here in going through and searching and sorting. So let's just take the items that are at a larger than 40% margin. If I want to change those, I change that margin. You'll see it automatically reflects in my price. So if I want to make this a competitive deal, I just simply go in and make modifications to these. Remove my filter, and off I go back to all of my line items. Some items might be special where I need to get a special price from the manufacturer. So let's take a look at this one where I have 128 of these pipes, and I want to achieve a special price. So I get an authorization from the vendor. Normally, you know, our cost is 90, but we're going to sell it at 90, and we're going to get a better cost to them from 85 to make this a good competitive deal. But I really need to make sure that I do my checks and balances and provide that price authorization letter and attach it here to make sure that it's a part of this quote going forward. So there's no questions when purchasing department wants to know, you know, how am I selling this at our cost? And just say, hey, I've got this special authorization. You can see it's noted here as special now in the item. Also in my grouping, so if I do a search here for water, it's going to sort and find all of my water material. And if I go to hydrant, you'll see that there's all of my hydrants, but they're not really in sequential order. But if I really wanted to change them, it's as simple as just adding it and changing the line, and it'll resort and reorder those for me. And again, once I come back, now I'm at my quote here. I have my hydrants in order. And let's just real quick take a look at what that document might look like if we output it. Again, I have my default set slightly different to show a little bit different view, but you'll see that the capability for us to output the document really in whatever format you need exists. So here now for this document, you'll see that there's our cover letter, here's our header information, and we have each of those sections in a subsection that are totaled up. And then at the end, obviously, each of the totals, terms and conditions. So the last thing I want to show on this before I move over and kind of start to wind down or wrap to some different things is, so a lot of times your employees know what they want to enter in, and we could go into this rapid entry screen to where if you know your part numbers, you can just start typing them directly in here. I'm going to select a few. And once I've selected those, I can very easily add those items to my quote as well. And it allows you to not have to really search. If you know all your part numbers, just add them in quickly. If we want to associate a project, we can do so. We have the ways to do jobs and projects and update header information or customer data as needed as well. Okay, with this in mind, I'm going to start to shift gears and move into just another phase here to where we're going to talk about analytics. So it's important to note that here on my homepage, I can get to things with my app switcher dependent upon what permissions I have. So if I have access to an Infor ERP or analytics, I can very quickly navigate to those and select and grab what items I want. Now our analytics are quite robust. You can drill into any one of these. If I want to look at just my own, I can do so. If I have permissions to see everybody else's, you can see it has my top 10 products. I can also quotes by month and look at my different customers. So if I want to remove that and go out of into my dashboard, takes me back home. There's also a home navigation. These are standard out of the box, the dashboard, the one loss. Here you can see the one loss details and it win percentage and loss percentage, as well as the quote aging detail. And again, everything that you see here, I could drill into by a simple click of the button, look at my aging detail by customer and so forth. Out of the box with those standard reports for our CPQ analytics. Okay, I'm trying to zip right through this. I know that we're kind of crunched for time and we do want to allow for some questions. But one last thing, since we touched on the configurator and how robust it is, and since it can be called from a website, and Deb talked about how you can differentiate your brand by allowing your customers to come in and access that directly. I'm just going to flip over to a live customer website. So this is kind of a scary moment for all of us since it is live customer. And here is an example. So here's a customer, they're using our configurator and it's integrated with some CAD software to generate this rendering. So I'm gonna make some different modifications here. Just choose a few different options and we'll see kind of what that rendering can change. And again, this really isn't my expertise of this customer, but I'm gonna go ahead and configure that. So notice that our configurator has made a call to the backend CAD and it's changing or making modifications to render based off of the selections that have been made. So again, if you want to go out and look for Nook and do this as well, it's live production website and you can make those modifications and understand that. Okay, With that in mind, Deb, I've really zipped through this pretty quickly. I'm going to pause and hand it back over.
Great, thanks for that overview. And so Brian, just hand it back to you to see if we had any questions.
Yeah, actually, we do have several questions. Just a couple of comments I'd like to make before we get to the questions part. I mean, I can't even imagine, clients that have multiple configurations of products, how complex trying to search for all those very specific part numbers might be, if you don't have a configurator like this. This just seems to make things so much simpler, both for the sales rep as well as for your customer, if you allow the web access to it. So with that said, we do have some questions. So this is for either Deb or Travis. Let's see, are there limits to the number of options we can have?
I can take that. In regards to the configurator, I believe that question might be referencing. In regards to the configurator, no, there's no limits to the number of options. It's pretty much limitless. You can go through and make multiple models if you want, and or you can enable all the options across a single model.
Great, thank you, Travis. Another question we have, this is a good one as well. Can you integrate with CRM such as Salesforce.com?
I'll take that one as well. So we do have standard integration to both Salesforce and Microsoft, and obviously we integrate to Infor CRM as well. And the standard integration for Microsoft and for Salesforce, we would love to send you a quick video on. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to Deb and she can definitely send you a video where you can watch that.
Excellent. Still some more questions here. So how do we keep our information separate from our resellers?
I'll go ahead and take that as well. So it is all role-based, which means when you are authenticated, you will have your salespeople may have territories, they may have access to all of the products, or they may have access to just a subset. If you have dealers, distributors as well, they log directly into the tool. Their role will permit them to only see their customers, their products, and so forth as well.
Excellent. A couple more questions here. So how does the integration with CSD work? That's a good one.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk to that a little bit. There's within the configurator, as you go through and you make those selections, it will change what information is going to be passed over. We can, in the case where I showed the demonstration today, we showed a kit option. We can also do full bill of materials and on all the routing and information as well. But based off those selections, the configurator decides which options, which routing, which instructions, all the data to pass over, and it's done through an API call so that it's basically real time.
Excellent. So I have another question here as well. Can we have unique pricing for different customers?
You certainly can. You can separate price lists and have them set up by customers. You can have multiple price lists per customers. There's lots of capability when it comes to that. And also, going back to the previous question with integration to CSD, if you have all of that pricing already set up in your ERP system, we can replicate that over into where you're just pulling it directly from CPQ as it came from CSD.
Excellent. And then we have a question that appears to everybody here in the chat button. Thank you, George, for this. How do companies account for changes in product add-ons?
So I'm going to start to answer this question and say, if I'm not understanding it completely, please elaborate. But I think the question is tied back to the configurator and how we change the capabilities. Like, let's say that a product 2.0 comes out and it has a greater capability.
Yeah, I might have a little additional help for you here, Travis. So
okay.
Are you able to flag a product in CSD to prompt the admin and CPQ to update the add-on products to current or valid new product?
Okay, So as a product is updated in CSD, there would be a slight modification that needs to happen within the configurator. Any products that are non-configurable, that product change will automatically replicate over. So any additional changes that need to be enabled, let's just say we're enabling an additional color of wire in our example, we would go in, we would just update. It's pretty simple, kind of like adding a line in a spreadsheet, an additional option, and make sure that it's available to everybody.
Okay, terrific. So that's all the questions I have so far. If there's anybody else on this call that has any questions, I would ask if you please submit them into chat, and we'll go ahead and get those addressed. Okay, while we're waiting for that, Deb, if we could maybe pull up the slide with the promo again, just like to review that one more time. It's a very generous offer that we have on the table for this particular solution. So here we go, guys. So again, you have a complimentary Infor CPQ ROI value calculator. So I think that's amazing. You know, so you can, if you're really looking to see what the ROI might be for your own company, you have the ability to go ahead and utilize that calculator. So anybody that's on this call has access to that. Just message, you know, myself or anybody else that's on the call, Travis or Deb, and we'll make sure we get that to you. And again, 10% discount on the software if you choose to sign before December 15th or by December 15th. And then the first 5 customers that raise their hand receive a free 15-day proof of concept. So no risk there, right? So you get to be able to go ahead and get a proof of concept with your own product so you can see how it'll work with your own solution. So again, 3 very generous pieces here. Usually, for anyone that's attended our webinars in the past, there's 1 element usually to a special promo. Here we have 3. So I would ask that you seriously consider this if you think this is a fit for your company. And if you've got multiple options by product, I can't see how this isn't something that you'd be certainly interested in. So I'll give it another minute to see if we get any other questions that might come in. Okay, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and give it a wrap. I want to thank everybody for attending today's sessions. I'd like to thank Deb and Travis for their presentation today. Thank you so much. Everybody that's on the session will receive a recorded, link. That should be out within the next 24 to 48 hours. We're also going to obviously include that for folks that registered that were not able to attend today. So we're going to give you guys back about 10 minutes of your hour. And thank you all again for attending today's session.